Dallas Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy is going back to the future. McCarthy is now taking over play calling for the Dallas Cowboys. How do you think this might change the Cowboys offense led by quarterback Dak Prescott?
I can't believe it's taken me a week to think of this, Bree, but since you just said it, now I can just say it. He's going pack to the future.
Oh, wow. Pack to the future. Mike Jop. Get it? Mike Jop.
What they ran with Green Bay, and we've jokingly called this now the Green Bay Cowboys, which, by the way, Cowboys fans don't like.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But we're just having a little fun. It's the West Coast offense. It's been wildly successful for 30 years. It's simply what McCarthy is more comfortable with than the meshing of things that they did here previously with Kellen Moore. This does not mean that they throw out everything that they did right in Kellen Moore's offense. There is no offense today in the NFL that just does this. They all have borrowed from 30 and 40 and 50 years of history, but it makes perfect sense to me. And Jerry Jones the other day said it's a natural progression that they would have taken Dak as far as he can go with Kellen, and now Mike McCarthy wants to take him to another place and to use the West Coast offense to take him there when that's McCarthy's comfort zone, for lack of a better word, makes absolute perfect sense. I don't understand any argument against it. In fact, we should look at it, Bree, the other way around. It was awfully unselfish of McCarthy to come here and not make the change then.
Right.
That's what most coaches would have done. He didn't even change the terminology around here. He thought that benefited Dak Prescott at the time. And obviously, he wouldn't be doing this if he didn't think this was going to be a Dak-friendly move. Yeah. So this can benefit Dak Prescott as well.
With Kellen Moore moving on to the Chargers, the Cowboys decide to promote within for offensive coordinator. What do you think about that decision instead of an outside hire?
First of all, let's move off the idea that there was some soap operatic conflict between the head coach and Kellen Moore. That's just not the way it went. Yeah. We were in this room on that Thursday, and I'm the one that asked Mike McCarthy, is Kellen Moore safe? And when he didn't say yes, you knew he wasn't.
Right.
And yet, why didn't they fire him? If they don't like him, if they're in conflict, if this was some sort of a power struggle, why didn't he just fire him? He fired 8 other guys, including some guys who he's very close to. Well, it's because they aren't in conflict with Kellen Moore. They do respect him. They're still friends with him. Everybody's still friends with him in this building. But they gave him a nice, soft, cushy place to land because the Chargers had, in advance of that Thursday press conference, already reached out for a chance to interview Kellen Moore. And then in 5 minutes, he got a job. Not really. It was actually 5 days that he got a job. Now they make the switch to Brian Schottenheimer. And the only negative about this is the concept of extended nepotism. Brian Schottenheimer is a member of McCarthy's football family. His father, the legendary Marty Schottenheimer, was a mentor to McCarthy. If you find this like shocking, you must not have been around sports very often, because
this happens.
Fortunately or unfortunately, this is what happens. I hire my guy. I hire my nephew, I hire my son, I hire my brother. It is the way it works. It's one of the reasons that the Rooney Rule is in place, to try to bust through that wall a little bit. And the Cowboys did their due diligence and met those requirements. And then McCarthy hired the guy that he was always going to hire. Schottenheimer was in the building this last year as a assistant, quality control analyst, helper, get my dry cleaning guy. But he's also been an offensive coordinator in the NFL. And he's been doing this for 25 years. I hear a lot of Cowboys fans and even some media go, that's boring, he's boring. That I'm not sure what you wanted.
Boring's not always bad.
Boring's not always bad, especially when it's Mike McCarthy's really going to be his own offensive coordinator. There's nothing boring about a Mike McCarthy offense in Green Bay. Nothing at all. In a lot of ways, his hire as offensive coordinator in title is going to be an administrative assistant. This is going to be Mike McCarthy running his own offense, calling his own plays. And he's got a comfort zone guy as his right-hand man in Schottenheimer. The only way that we know if a coordinator's any good or not is if you score a lot of touchdowns. Otherwise, I don't know how you judge who a coordinator is, if he's good or he's bad. The audience here got tired of Kellen Moore because the audience here, in terms of Cowboy fans, gets tired of going 12-5 because you're spoiled. That's why.
Mike, you have a great article up on CowboysSI.com about Tyron Smith and Ezekiel Elliott. Cowboys cut, question mark, question mark. Explain what you're thinking here, if this is really an end of an era.
Yeah, and the concept of the two of them is rooted in an article in the Dallas Morning News. And the Dallas Morning News, when they, and I say this with all respect, when they generally write "I wonder if" stories, they're not wondering. They got it from somewhere, and they're trying to kind of disguise the source. They don't want to go that way. So the idea of Ezekiel Elliott and breaking up with him is real. We've been discussing that for a long time.
Right.
Both parties would like to not break up, but the finances may make it so. The idea of Tyron Smith, there's a way to do this where you save $17 million, and that would be as a post-June 1st cut. But you talk about saying goodbye to that. Now that's the end of an era too.
Absolutely.
And so if this team really does in the same offseason divorce Ezekiel Elliott and divorce Tyron Smith, Zeke obviously is on very much the downside of his career, and you can see that in his performance.
Yeah.
That's not an insult, and it's not an argument. Tyron Smith is 32, and except for the injury issues, is still a monster.
Yeah.
The question is Terrence Steele going to be the starting right tackle? Probably. Is Tyler Smith ready to be the starting left tackle? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Tyron's going to be a $17 million swing tackle? That's not happening at all. I wonder if the Cowboys don't go to both Zeke and Tyron and say, let's rework your contract. Let's keep you around here. They're both pivotal guys in the building. Zeke, everybody knows about. We've talked about that. The Tyron Smith story and his relationship with the Jones family it's very, very deep. And not very often can you, they didn't do it for Romo. They didn't do it for Ware, and they wanted to. Jerry wanted to. Let's keep him. Let's work together. He's family.
Yeah.
Jerry's not going to want to say goodbye to Tyron Smith.
Yeah.
That's going to be a tough one. But if and when it'll happen eventually, and when Zeke's no longer here eventually, and Tyron's no longer here eventually, that's an end of a Cowboy era.
Even though it's Dallas Cowboys offseason, you really wouldn't know it with all the happenings going on here at the Star.
Here we are.
Yeah.
What offseason?
Right, exactly. There's really just always something going on. And lately it's, hey, is the Cowboys Super Bowl door closed? Now, there could be many arguments made about if they have a good NFL draft this season, if they make some great free agent signings. Do you feel like the Cowboys, as is, their Super Bowl window is still open?
Yeah, I think the only time that a window is almost closed is when you shot your shot, salary cap wise, and now you got to pay the piper.
And you have no draft picks.
The Rams still have talent, but they're at that point now,
Right.
and they recognize they're at that point. They're not adding talent, high price talent, anytime soon. They can't. But the other factor here is the league rigs it.
Yeah.
No, not scripted. Not rigged that way.
Yeah.
By the way, that's a joke. And I didn't know that at the beginning either. That's an NFL player's joke.
For sure.
It's not really rigged. There's not really a script, but it's very funny. It really is. Unless you get sucked into the trap of thinking it's real. Yeah. The NFL is set up so if you finish in last place this year, they want you. They want you to finish in first place next year, and it happens a lot.
That's why this game is so fun to watch.
Right. So parity makes it fun. Bad teams become good teams. The draft is set up that way. The schedule's set up that way.
Yeah.
Bad teams get to play bad teams, and one of them rises to the top. So more than ever, I don't even believe in the concept of window closed.
Okay.
Dak Prescott is 29. He's the centerpiece here. He's not going anywhere, whether you like it or not. He's not. And I think the 2022 Dallas Cowboys were the third best team in the NFC. Don't you? Eagles, 49ers, Cowboys.
Right.
That's not good enough, but it is pretty good. And it is a foundation that allows you to continue to think, plan, dream about the Cowboys and the Super Bowl.
Great.